Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your opinion down below. Would I be the idiot if I disinvite my mother 2 weeks before my wedding? My mom, 56F, and I have a rocky relationship to say the least. When my parents got divorced I went no contact from 17-20. After my sophomore year of college, I have slowly let her back into my life. I, 25F, am getting married to my fiancé, 26M, in a few weeks. We got engaged December 2018. My mom was so excited and committed to making my wedding dress. At that time she and I had the healthiest relationship we ever had, and she was ready to help plan the wedding and creating my dream dress. She and my future mother-in-law got along great, until my mother realized, March 2019, my mother-in-law was a badass and was on top of helping me with planning. Mother-in-law never overstepped boundaries. She is just super organized and was excited for me to join the family. My mother felt excluded even though she was a part of every conversation I had with mother-in-law about the wedding and was telling me my mother-in-law was making it all about her. My mother was pissed I didn't agree and said some really hurtful things. In May 2019, my mother did not attend the one wedding planning meeting we had with all the parents because she didn't feel the need to. I sent a picture of the wedding signs and she told me they looked tacky. She said it's unacceptable that we aren't having actual plates for food. We need to have liquor. I have too many bridesmaids. You get the point. Nothing is ever good enough for her, so I stopped trying to include her. We were originally going to get married April 2020, but my dad had a health issue last January, so we decided to postpone. Then COVID hit. It's now July 2020 and some irrelevant drama went down between my brother, 20M, and I. My mom texted me saying what a piece of crap I was and how I was a disappointment. I did not respond. The next night I was out to dinner with my out-of-state family, stepmom, fiance celebrating my dad's successful surgery, and my brother decided to not show up. My mother knew we were out to dinner and felt it was the time to text me that I needed to find a fat girl dress and sent pictures of me when I was 19 versus now at 25, dealing with COVID and my dad recovering in the hospital. Y'all, I hadn't even tried on my dress at that point and it wasn't finished. I was extremely upset. We went limited contact and during that time I bought a new dress that I love. We spoke in December 2020 and she is upset I won't wear the dress she made me, even though I still haven't tried it on and it's still not finished. So now for tonight, she emailed me saying she and her husband will try to make the rehearsal dinner and will show up 30 minutes before the wedding. I feel like the drama she has caused and could potentially cause at her wedding would justify her not being invited. But in the same breath, I worry about the repercussions if I do disinvite her. So with all of that, would I be the idiot for disinviting my mom to my wedding? Not the idiot. What a downward spiral from the beginning of the post. Initially, I could understand why your mom would feel left out or excluded and have hurt feelings about this situation. This is no excuse for the way she then decided to treat you. Your wedding should be about you and you should be surrounded by those who love and support you. If your mom continues to try and tear you down because she feels slighted, you have every right not to include her in your special day. Leave that to the people who will build you up. Not the idiot. My heart almost stopped when I read the fat girl dress line. Shut her down. You do not need that energy at your wedding. The day should be about you and your fiancé, not your mother's drama and insults. This is a hill to die on. You obviously realize you're right to disinvite her if you like, but what you're worried about isn't whether you're right or wrong, it's how it will affect your relationship. It will most certainly be very upsetting to her and will be a big deal. The question is, do you really have a relationship to salvage? She's been cruelly tearing you down and taking her frustrations out on you. Does she actually bring you any happiness? Or are you simply hoping that she'll return to her former self once the wedding is over? And is it worth it to have her putting a damper on your wedding day in the hopes that she may stop being an idiot afterwards? Just figure out what's most important to you and go from there. Good luck. Am I the idiot for doing university work instead of helping my parents? Obligatory English isn't my first language. Hey everyone. I am 18. I'm currently in my first year of studying at a university. This is also where my problems have started. In my country, exams are during the entire month of January, with a lesson-free studying period of around 3 weeks in December. During this time it is expected of students to revise all classes and get ready for the upcoming month. This is where I might be the idiot. I still had a lot to do by this period and therefore had barely any contact with my parents, as I spent my days in my room constantly studying. This is what my parents found awful. It started out with some comments about how I was a lazy son that didn't help them out with household chores, but it started going more and more to harassment. How I experienced it, where they would barge into my room at different times to check if I was studying, commenting on me being a terrible son, commenting about how I suck at studying 24/7. I did not take this lightly and tried to clarify that this is normal since December isn't a holiday month for university students here. They took huge offense to the saying that I have no right to complain since their lives are so much harder than mine, my dad has a business, and that I shouldn't be such an attention-seeking brat. Since that moment I've been trying to avoid them as much as possible while also doing chores and working in my father's business during exams. It's a small job I use to get some money on the side, which brings us to yesterday. My parents are still hostile to me for being a lazy brat even though I'm doing everything I can to balance out doing household chores and university work. And yesterday it went as far as them throwing all my newly bought books that I need for university on the floor for me to pick up since it took too long for me to go get them. Multiple of those books are law codexes and cannot get damaged in any way since I need to take them to my exam. I freaked out at them, saying that all of their behavior shows how much respect they have for me and that I'm so done of being their scapegoat. I don't know if this is the right term. I woke up for work today and suddenly they were acting like nothing happened, which I despise, so I really just want to know. Am I the idiot for this situation? I'm sorry if this seems like a minor problem. It's just something I have been really struggling with and I'd just like some closure to this whole situation. Close bracket. Your parents sound quite toxic. Get out of there as soon as possible. Don't let them give you a bad conscience because you take your future seriously. Not the idiot. You made a commitment to yourself and the university and you are obliged to do everything in your power to make sure you do well and succeed. Your parents are not being fair or reasonable. They are just doing what narcissists do, blaming you and sabotaging you to try to make you fail, so then they can say I told you so, and berate you for failing. Try to spend as much time at school as possible. Study and do homework in the library if they have one. Talk to a counselor, explain what it's like for you at home, how your parents treat you and your books. They can perhaps find you some acceptable accommodation and a part-time job to cover expenses. Don't struggle through this alone, there are people that can help. Don't be too proud to ask for it. Not the idiot. It sounds like you need to get away from them as fast as you can. From what you're describing it seems like they are actively trying to sabotage your education. Am I the idiot for voicing a controversial opinion when asked and unintentionally insulting a friend's parenting? So this argument discussion has come up more than a few times with my friends and family, but this time it really went insane. I am a mother to a 2-year-old boy and most of my friends' close family are the same age, early 30s, or older, so most of us have kids. We have all been really open with one another and we all know that most of us have different political and religious beliefs. It really is a big melting pot of a bunch of different backgrounds, so we try to just tread lightly, but we do debate on topics quite often and we have always stayed cordial. Tonight, one friend M31 asked when we were going to put our son into daycare preschool as he is home with the nanny while I work from home and my husband works outside the house. We mentioned him going to a specific preschool that is pretty well known in our town after he turns 3. One of the moms, we will call her Jenny, piped up and said we should take him to X school, which in all fairness is highly rated, but extremely religious school. Think set prayer times, ancient building with scary stone things, Bible study, etc. I said thanks, but we won't be introducing son's name to religion until he is old enough and expresses the desire to learn on his own if he wants to be religious. I did not think this would come as a shock to anyone. They all know we are agnostic. We have discussed it plenty of times. However, Jenny went completely hysterical and said she couldn't believe I would insult her that way, and in public as well. I asked her what she meant, and she said I was implying she was brainwashing her children by sending them to religious schools. I tried to stay calm and just tried to explain that we have different beliefs. She very strongly believes her children's souls are at risk if they are not baptized and or brought up in church. I told her every parent has the right to try to do what they believe is best for their children, but she just wouldn't let it go and kept trying to convince me on why I was wrong and how she was a better mother because she was thinking about my child's future. At this point, I had seriously lost my patience and told her maybe she should think long and hard about why she is so convinced I am saying she is brainwashing her children when I said nothing of the sort and said, maybe you are projecting what you already think of yourself. And then I left with my husband. My husband thinks I was on point and that she deserved the comments after how crazy she got about her school choice, but the friends group itself is pretty much split down the middle. Half think I went too far and insulted her beliefs. The other half think she shouldn't have approached the subject knowing we weren't religious. I think I may be the idiot with how harsh my last comment was, and I know my temper was starting to stir up towards the end of it, but I also think you shouldn't ask for an opinion you don't really want. Wanting to get some unbiased feedback from both sides of the fence on this one. Not the idiot. What you said was so minor to the actual situation that I'm just gonna overlook it. Somehow she thinks you're brainwashing her children for letting them have a choice in what to think. Unless this post is leaving out some things or I've read some parts wrong. IDK how you could be the idiot even with that cheeky comment. Not the idiot. You only talked about your choices for your own kids, and if she is going to forcefully criticize your choices, which she shouldn't be doing, then she needs to be prepared for pushback. Not the idiot. I completely agree that she's projecting hard. She's the one that turned it into an acrimonious discussion, and it sounds as if in no way did you say she's a bad mother. She laid it all on herself. I'm sorry if you lose friends over this because you didn't dig that hole. She did, and she jumped right into it. Am I the idiot for not stopping to help a child in a store? Recently, I, 23F, was shopping in a local craft store, and a young child, 5-6 years old, was running back and forth down every aisle, blocking other customers and practically pushing everyone else aside. The mother was present, but a few steps behind the child and making limited attempts to calm her down, or get her to stop running up and down all of the aisles. A few minutes go by, and I had grabbed what I needed. I started to head towards the checkout, and the child who had been running up and down the aisles tripped and fell flat on her face in the middle of the main aisle opening. The kid looked up at me and started screaming and crying at the top of her lungs. Loudly. People started to stare, as if it were my own child I was not dealing with. Because of my concerns surrounding the pandemic, along with a mother who is immunocompromised, and my particular dislike of children, I stepped around the child and went on my way towards the checkout and exit. After a few seconds, the mother of the child, who had seen me step around her kid, yelled after me, asking what was wrong with me, and why had I not stopped to check if her child was okay or needed help, rather than avoiding them and stepping around her. She continued to berate me for my actions, and I eventually said I'm in a bit of a rush. I have to go, sorry. She cursed under her breath, picked up her screaming child, and walked away in a huff. Am I the idiot for not stopping to check on a child that isn't mine, when I do not like children and am concerned about getting my mother sick? I feel bad. But I also was uncomfortable and don't like dealing with kids. If she was in serious danger, obviously I have a heart and would have helped. But she grazed an knee at most, and I don't feel like this was my responsibility. Some of my friends' family agree with me, but I've also been given a lot of hell for not checking on this child. Not the idiot. The pandemic is excuse enough. But without it, still not the idiot. A lot of kids would freak out even more if a stranger tried to comfort them in that situation. That kid needed their mom, who sadly is not a good one. Not the idiot. I have zero tolerance for lazy excuses of parents who allow their child to misbehave in public where it affects other people. If you want to allow your child to be annoying as crap, do it in your own home. Kid got a wake up call and you saw they didn't have any serious injuries. You don't need to, and shouldn't, reward their behavior with attention. You were a lot nicer to the mother than I would have been. Not the idiot. She's supposed to watch her child. Why was she so far from her? Say there was a predator around. A fallen kid with no parents around is the perfect target. Who's going to stop someone picking her up while she's crying and leave the store? Bam. Stolen baby, and God forbid a dead one. It takes a second. You said yourself that it was a few before she noticed. My mother would have chewed that irresponsible woman out loud and made her cry. I've seen her do it.